For those asking if the lead up to the 2008 recession feels like right now, which is the lead up to the 2025 recession, no. Nope. Big nope energy, okay? No. No. The difference, well, one of the differences that is probably the most obvious, 2008, we had hope and change right around the corner, baby. Barack now was on the way. It was still an election cycle, and we had not voted for him yet, but we at least knew that there was somebody around the corner that could possibly help and get us out of that situation. Right now, baby, 2025, that's it. Ain't no help on the way. This is it. For the next 4 years, ain't no, Barack now ain't coming. Okay, they at the house. Ain't no help. So, while there were many factors that were at play, that was one of the big ones.
There had better be help coming, because a lot of things will go wrong if there is no help. Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So I made a previous video about recession, Trump hinting that the economy is sliding towards recession, but they are doing everything they can do to keep it on the right track. So I came across couple of videos where people actually are comparing the 2008 recession to this 2025 recession that might be on the way. Okay, and all credit goes to the creators in this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section about the recession of 2008 and this one that we are about to get into.
Apparently, we're about to enter another recession. Now, if you're a millennial, you survived one already, right? Hopefully, you learn from it as well. Now, what do you need to do? Well, one, of course, try to keep your job. But also, if you can't keep your job and you have a mortgage, ask your compadres and your comadres that live in an apartment complex to move in with you, okay? Make room for them. Whenever I made it to the U.S., my entire family lived in a one-bedroom, not an apartment or a house, in a one-bedroom with other people, okay? That way, they keep a roof over their heads and you keep your house. Second, I hate to say this, and I'm sorry this is happening to veterans and federal employees that were just let go. All those people are going to fall behind on their mortgages. But before they do, they're going to try to save their houses with everything they have. Quite literally, okay? They will sell everything. Motorcycles, tools, boats, anything they can get to get income in to keep their mortgage, okay? So, you can pick up stuff cheap. Mostly it's on Facebook Marketplace. It didn't exist back then. It was Craigslist, okay? You could probably still download Craigslist. Just, be careful. Don't get scammed. And then, girlies, gotta learn how to cook, okay? Rice and beans goes with everything. Also, if you're bilingual, okay? If you're bilingual, you can survive on this, because that's how I survived, okay? I translated for a pregnant woman, men that needed to go to the courts to pay a ticket, any of that, okay? I translated. That's how I stayed alive. What was it going? Oh, yeah. One bag of maseca is a lot cheaper than a bag of tortillas, and it lasts a lot longer, okay? Your parents taught you how to eat poorly. Don't play with me. Mine's did too. So let's stay safe. Let's have empathy for others. And, yeah, if you can snatch up a cheap home or land, which is my plan because I want a little homestead, that's what I'm going to do. Also, if you have a way to get into the oil field, go ahead and do so. A lot of states, like Louisiana, where I moved to when the recession was in the middle of it, survived because of the oil rigs, okay? So good luck, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
Asking if this is what it felt like in 2008, I can tell you no, it doesn't. Because in 2008, we didn't have access to the information that we do now. We didn't have an app like this where we could talk to each other and see what was really going on. Yes, we had Facebook, but it was nothing like what it is now. Nothing at all. There's actually a lot more disinformation being shared there then. But no, I don't really know how to explain how different it was. I was still in college, so I had jobs, but like not career type jobs. I worked a lot, I worked as much as I could. I think I was renting an apartment at the time. But yeah, I mean, I worked in sales. That's what it was. I worked in jewelry sales, and it did not affect that industry at all because, truth be told, the people that have money to buy jewelry didn't affect them. If you can afford to buy diamonds, you were still going to buy diamonds. It's plain and simple. But yeah, people were losing their jobs that had been at places, 20, 30, 40 years. The area that I live in, the major effects of the recession, mini depression, whatever you want to call it, it took about 2 years for it to hit here. So keep in mind, I graduated college in 2010. And I was like, really looking forward to being an adult, having a real job. Yeah, the bottom fell out. I sent out so many applications to so many places, and I actually had a good resume. I'd worked at big companies. I had a very strong financial background of my career, of the jobs that I had, and I probably applied 50, 60 different places. I didn't even get no's. I just didn't get responses at all because these companies had just laid off people that had been working there for decades to minimize the hit that they were taking. So why were they going to hire me fresh out of college, even though I had a good resume? They weren't hiring for those positions at all. And I don't think that a lot of those places of employment and those particular jobs ever recovered from that. They still had one person doing probably the job of 2 to 3 people. And that continues today. And they wonder why people are burnt out. But with all that being said, it does feel a lot the same. But like I said, we have access to so much more information now. Real information, not what the media tells us. Real information. First-hand knowledge information. We didn't have that back then. So at least now, you're not as surprised. Still scary though.
The next 2008 level economic collapse, and they're hiding the bubble inside a private equity black box.
So please go to her page and watch that whole video. Also go to her Twitter where she's more in depth of the thread that explains that video. And then her thread on Twitter in that video is about the pending economic collapse that is equivalent to what private equity and big banks did in 2008 with the housing crisis and what caused that. And if you want to learn about that, go back and watch a movie documentary narrated by Matt Damon, I believe. It's called The Big Short. I tell people all the time, go watch that fucking movie. It'll tie in It'll tie in the Trade Center bombing. It'll tie in 9/11. It'll tie in the housing crash. It'll tie all that in together and explain where that happened. Or it'll at least give you the pieces to put together to connect all of them. And basically how they were using those, CDOs at the time to sell those bad housing loans that was getting everybody and putting them back on the market. And small banks got bought out by big banks after they bailed out the banks and they consolidated and moved the chain up more into, big corporations or whatever, because the big banks bought all the little banks, further consolidating. That's going to happen this time again with private equity and them buying up all these businesses, getting into HVAC company, like all the small businesses, all the actual regular business like Jersey Mike's, things like that they buy up, Hooters, profitable businesses. But you're wondering, why are these businesses going bankrupt? Why are they going bankrupt? Because now they're doing CLOs, which is another type of adjustable rate loan that they're basically front loading these businesses with, and they can't sustain these adjustable rates. You go from a 2.9% and all of a sudden it's 8.9. They can't sustain despite being a profitable business before they sold to private equity. I knew and I've spoken about private equity and the problem that it is, but I could not connect the dots to see how the collapse is going to happen. And it's tying into the And she tied it into and connected the dots on how it's going to happen and where they're going to pull that money from to sustain us. And it's your pensions, it's your 401ks, it's your pensions, it's your retirements. That's where they're going to get the money from, because the pensions and the 401ks turn around and we're told that it was safe to buy these CLOs, and they bought and invested in them. And so when that inevitably, they've been draining, the private equity's been draining and sucking this money out, pause, this entire time. And when it ultimately fails and it collapses because these businesses can't sustain, then there goes your pension. There goes your grandfather, your grandmother, your auntie, and big boomers' pensions, right? And that's why I believe that, like, the government, Doge and Trump are cutting all this federal money, because when they inevitably have to bail out corporations this time, people aren't going to go for what they went for in '08 when we bailed out the automobile industry, the airline industry, the banks and shit like that. They're going to have a problem with that. But now when your pensions are dry and people don't have means to live off of their pensions and 401ks and their retirements anymore, oh, they're going to be like, yeah, bail that out, right? And once again, private equity and big corporations get away with another heist. And in order to pay and distract from that, then what happens? We go to war, because that's what always happens. They're literally laying the groundwork for the war right now by using the Houthis, who are literally protesting genocide, to translate that to why, and laying the groundwork and demonizing Iran. You see what I'm saying? Does weapons of mass destruction ring a bell with Iraq? The only issue I have with Shawty is she does do work with Ian Carroll, and they believe in Trump. That's the only thing. But good luck with that one. But I think they said there's like 2 to 3 trillion tied up in all of this, and how much money is invested in the 401ks and pensions and retirements and shit right now. So, yeah.
Session is going to be one for the record books. We actually just got an indication on when and why this could start. We have not seen this since 2008, what I'm about to show you here. So American credit card debt, it's over $1 trillion. We all know that. That's not news, all right? Americans have over $1 trillion of credit card debt, averaging 16 to 26% on the interest rates, which is some of the highest debt we've ever seen in history. But the big part here is that now over 11% of that debt is more than 90 days past due. Why is this significant? Well, you have not seen this happen since 2008, which we all agree is a pretty nasty recession, right? But what's more significant about this is, if you think about it, the reason people rack up this credit card debt is they already can't afford to live. Now, the same people that racked up that debt can't afford to make the payment on the debt. This can become a big problem very quickly, like it did back in 2008. The American people are going to go through a pretty deep recession. If you're prepared for it, it's going to be okay. If you're not, it's going to catch you by surprise. 2025 will be the
Great Recession. I was 8 years old in 2008, and my best friend that had lived next to me my entire life moved away, and I barely ever talked to him again. And a lot of other kids in my grade moved away, and I just kind of thought it was a fact of life. You know, it happens. People move around a lot. It wasn't until I was much older when I realized that that was in fact not normal, and there were insane economic circumstances breaking apart families and forcing people to move out of their homes. And the way that we got out of that recession is we bailed out the banks, right? The federal government bailed out the banks because they were handing out mortgage loans to people who wouldn't normally qualify. So that's a tale as old as time in our economic system, right? We privatize the gains and we socialize the losses using public tax dollars as a crutch every time that the private sector is fucking collapsing. And we acknowledge this, right? We acknowledge that unfettered capitalism cannot survive without some elements of a social democracy, right? That's Keynesian economics. So if we can acknowledge that things like public spending and social services and even things like regulations are fully necessary to prevent capitalism from eating itself alive, why is everyone so opposed to those things when things are, going well in the economy? And then when there's a recession, everybody flips a switch and says, we really need the government to step in and save us, right? It's kind of like that saying, there's no atheists in the foxholes. There are no capitalists around during a recession saying that the government should stay out of it, right? We all acknowledge that the government is here to help us during a recession. That's how we got out of the Great Depression, was the New Deal, an insane amount of public spending and public investment. So maybe what we really need to finally get off of this constant merry-go-round of impending economic collapse is socialism, right? Nationalizing strategic sectors like the housing market and the fucking resource
So we
extraction.
survived 2008. Definitely we would survive 2025 if there is going to be a recession. Because the fact still remains also that at the end of the day, we will be all right. But how much time is there between the season we are in and the season in which we are going to be all right? That's what nobody knows, right? And in the meantime, we can just hold on to the positive things, hold on to the things that make us happy, hold on to the expectation that we are going to be all right. Because at the end of the day, we can only hope, right, guys? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Were you here in 2008 for the recession? And are you here now? What do you think is the difference between then and now? All those content creators have made very good and salient points. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I'll see you in my next video. Please don't forget to stay safe. Ciao.